Hello.
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 Hi.
Okay. You guys all can hear me, right? I am having a lot of technical difficulties today, so I'm trying to work them out as I'm talking to you right now. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. And I'm hoping you can also hear me well.
Yeah, a bit echoey, but we can hear you.
Okay. Let me see if I can make it a little better. Is this better? Now? No? Yes?
Yeah, I think so.
Good. That's perfect. So, how are you guys all doing?
Doing well, thank you. How about yourself?
Well, I had to restart my home network and all my smart home devices 7 minutes ago. So that tells you how I feel. But I'm good.
Hopefully they now work faster than ever.
Well, we'll see. Um, that said, how's everything, you guys? I want to have a conversation about something before you go. Before we go into the class, so we can start the recording. But what I wanted to do is ask you about the Ramadan schedule, right? So in Ramadan, we life will be a little different, right? So I was wondering if you have any ideas about what we should be doing. Any suggestions?
Wait, can you repeat that?
Yeah, sure. So you know that Ramadan is coming in a month, right?
Yes.
And Maghrib will come in the middle of the class.
Yes.
So I was wondering if you have any suggestions how to deal with this.
Maybe before.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Or like it has 3 hours. Wait, 2 hours, right?
I cannot hear you, Hal, really well. Your voice is a little muffled.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Now I can.
Okay, I said either before or after.
What do you mean?
Like before Advent Maghrib.
Okay, so the Maghrib prayer time will come in the middle of the class. So what do you suggest we do? Would you say, for instance, I'm just giving an example, would you suggest that we bring the class, take the class a little earlier, or take the class a little later, or take a very long break and then come back and continue the class? I'm just throwing ideas. I do not know, it's up for negotiation.
I don't mind whichever one we do. I just would have to change where I'm at. Like I'm at university, I'm on campus until like 3. So then if we started earlier, I'd have to stay there. It doesn't matter for me, it's just whichever one we do.
Okay, thank you,
So
Jared.
Yeah, I can't, I mean, I work until 5, so that's 5 is the earliest I could do it.
It was just an example to clarify to Hal what I meant. I did not mean that we would bring it closer for sure. I give her an example.
Gotcha.
That's basically it. So any suggestions are welcome. Because if you guys do not come up with a viable suggestion, we'll keep it as is.
We could just take the break in between.
Yeah, I like that.
yeah, we can do
And
that.
how long would the break be?
Oh, I have a
Just have
question. Isn't Maghrib gonna be around 7 o'clock?
I do not know for sure.
I'm pretty sure it's gonna be at like 7 o'clock because we're about to hit daylight savings here. And we're
Okay.
usually ending.
Mahmoud, sorry, can you, Mahmoud, look up the calendar of Ramadan for us?
Yeah, so the first day it'll be 6:59 and it's only getting later from there.
Okay, so
So
we will have an issue only probably in the first 2 classes only, right?
I did have an idea. If we pulled it back half an hour, right now we're usually ending at 7:30 anyways. So if we started at 5 instead of 5:30, I think we'd be perfectly fine to just finish and go eat, if everyone's okay with 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
That's
I
fine
think
with
that's the
me.
best thing.
Okay, sounds, as a matter of fact, it's a very good idea. If everybody is fine with that,
Yeah, I agree.
okay, cool. Then we start at 5. And I will write an announcement on Canvas stating that we will begin at 5 in Ramadan, right? Okay, and after Ramadan, we'll come back to normal. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Any
Works for
comments?
me.
Any comments? Any concern?
Yeah, for Assalamu alaikum, Ustad Muhammad.
Say it again, Sayed. Sorry.
Now, I might be if at 5, I might be a little late because I work until around 4:45, 4:50, and it's in like a 23-minute home drive home. But I can try to just join through my phone at work and listen as I drive home. But that's just a disclaimer.
You could do that, and you can also join us late. Classes will be recorded anyways.
Okay, perfect. Shukran.
Of course. Any other comments or concerns here? No? Okay. Now let's then, you guys don't mind. Am I recording? Yeah, I think I am. Sorry. So
Yes, it's recording.
that I should have not recorded this, but it's okay. Well, anyways, let's start the class. And we started last time talking about Rasm and the issues with Rasm. And the 2 points that traditional and modern Arab scholars seem to have about it. If it's either tawqifi, because it was so delivered from God, and God has given it so to the Prophet, and the Prophet has given it so as such to the people who wrote the verses after him, and he reviewed them himself. Okay. And there is another group, which is a smaller group, that makes the claim that these deviations from the norm in the Rasm of the Qur'an has probably come from a developmental phase. Because using the Nabatean script and adopting it to the language of the Quran and using Arabic in writing anyways was a new cultural experience and a new tool at the hand of the Arabs, and it required fine-tuning and adjusting. And interestingly, this group of scholars are mostly linguists and mostly early scholars of the Arabic language. Al-Farra is notably one of those scholars. However, the majority of people who worked on this thing are of the opinion that it was tawqifi. They also differ. This group differed among themselves. Why? Is it delivered in a way that deviates from the norm of Arabic dictation and rasm? One group, like Sheikh Sharawi, we have watched the video for last time, is under the assumption that the main reason was that it was so made to keep you alert, to keep you on tiptoes and looking at every word individually. So every so often, the text gives you a jolt, something like that. That's basically a Sheikh Sharawi's perspective, and so many scholars, in fact, agree. But it seems to be an apology more than anything else. It seems to be, in fact, something that the quote-unquote divine book would not be doing. On the other hand, some other scholars, and Marrakeshi is most notable, believe that whenever a particular word deviates from the norm of the regular Arabic rasm, it does so for either a rhetorical or a semantic reason. So there is something in the meaning that can be understood or should be understood only from the context of the verse in which this deviant word is lodged. This is tempting, however, methodologically quite problematic, because this opinion means that if the word deviates, it should deviate for a particular semantic function. That semantic function needs to be gleaned or at least presumed from the context of the verse. But that gives a huge room for individual interpretation, so everybody can come up with their own quote-unquote understanding or appreciation. Another methodological issue with this opinion, tempting as it is that if somebody equates a particular semantic function for a deviant word, that function does not seem to hold true in every context in which that word appears. But those are the opinions we have so far. Like I said last time, today we will all be looking at our Mus'haf. And today, what we will be doing is just seeing examples and discussing them from these phenomena in the Quran. But before we go into these phenomena, do you guys have any questions or comments about last time or about what I said just now?
So a question I have is the second opinion that you mentioned is more of a recent opinion based upon, I'm just guessing, based upon, scholarship. How does the first group, respond to the second group? Do they see that as being anti-Islamic, or they just disagree and think that it's ordained by God?
No, they just disagree. There is no un-Islamic aspect or defense in this. It's basically, first of all, not a recent opinion. It is, in fact, something that's from the Middle Ages, I would say. But there is no huge polemic about it, if this is what you mean.
Okay, thanks.
Of course. I'm assuming you can see my screen.
Yep, I can.
Good. And in this, I added a page with the phenomena we're going to discuss today. Well, we'll not be able to discuss all of them, but it's it is going to be, we'll take examples from these phenomena. And the page is also attached to your module. You can see it now. And if you don't find it, just let me know. But before we go on to the discussion of these phenomena, the difference between the Rasm of the Qur'an and the regular dictation rules and norms of the Arabic language is not only in some words deviating from the norm, but also that this deviation does not take a standard route. So, for instance, like last time, if there is an additional ya in the middle of the word in a particular context, if the context is repeated, the ya is not added. So whenever there is a deviation to the norm, that deviation does not go in a uniform, unified way. Right? This is a point we should really keep in mind. It can lead you to the assumption that, these phenomena are there because the Arabs in the beginning were not able to standardize their writing style. But I don't think it's that easy. Let's save judgment to a better time when we are much better acquainted with the system. The relevant phenomena we are going to talk about here are 6, and I think you can see them in front of you in Arabic and in English. Deletion of a letter, which is technically called hadf, and an addition of a letter, and that is technically called ziyada. Pose, plus continuity between words, wasl, replacement, badal, and of course, rules pertaining to the representation of the hamza. Any questions? So, hadf, ziyada, fasl, wasl, badal, and hamza. So these are the 6 phenomena in which a word can deviate from the norms and rules of dictation in the Quran. Okay? Honestly speaking, I want you to go to a particular verse and read it so we can have a discussion, because I have a little bit of a query here. Let's go to Surah number 2, verse 57, which is Surah al-Baqarah, verse 57. Let's go together now, please. Al-Baqarah, verse 57. Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, I am.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I want somebody to read it for us, please.
I can.
Go ahead.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وظللنا عليكم الغمام وأنزلنا عليكم المن والسلوى كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم وما ظلمونا ولكن كانوا أنفسهم يظلمون.
Okay, sounds good. Once more, please.
وظللنا عليكم الغمام وأنزلنا عليكم المن والسلوى كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم وما ظلمونا ولكن كانوا أنفسهم يظلمون.
Very good. Thank you. I will read it once more, and there are words that I will ask you to underline. وظللنا عليكم الغمام, underline الغمام, وأنزلنا, underline أنزلنا, عليكم المن والسلوى, كلوا من طيبات, underline طيبات, ما رزقناكم, underline رزقناكم, وما ظلمونا ولكن كانوا أنفسهم يظلمون, underline ولكن. Right? So how many words did we underline?
I think it was 5.
Okay, can you say them to me, please?
Yeah, what was it? الغمامة.
Yes. وأنزلنا.
وأنزلنا. ولكن. What else?
No, there's طيبات.
طيبات, and was it ظلمونا?
No, رزقناكم. And then ولكن. So الغمام وأنزلنا, and then you have طيبات, and then you have رزقناكم, and then you have ولكن, right? And I want you to hear me say this list of words again. And if you hear me saying a word with a long aleph, let me know how many of these 5 words I say with a long aleph, okay? الغمام, أنزلنا, طيبات, رزقناكم, ولكن. How many of these words have I pronounced with a long aleph?
Sounded like all 5.
Jared says all 5. Does anybody say less than 5?
I think 4. أنزلنا didn't really have a long aleph.
It didn't. Although when you pronounced it, you said it with a long aleph at the end, أنزلنا. Right?
Yeah, that is true.
So let me say them again and let's make sure. الغمام, وأنزلنا, طيبات, رزقناكم, ولكن.
Right?
Who said what? Mahmoud? What did you say?
Muhammad. I was saying maybe not.
Oh, Muhammad, sorry. Go ahead, ya Muhammad.
I was saying maybe not ولكن.
Maybe not ولكن, although you pronounced it with a long aleph, by the way.
When I said it out loud, I did, but in my head it was ولكن.
Yes. But when you say it out loud,
ولكن. Yeah.
okay, so it's 5. Interestingly, how many of those 5 words you see does not have a long aleph?
2 don't.
Which ones?
الغمام and وأنزلنا.
Ghamam has a long alif. Ghamam, there's an alif after the meme.
I have tayyibat and
Tayyibat is missing an alif. Yes, you're right.
razaqnakum
And razaqnakum is missing an alif.
walakin.
Walakin is missing an alif. But Ghamam has an alif. And وأنزلنا has an alif. So Ghamam and Anzalna, the first two words in the verse are written according to the rules of Arabic dictation. They're fine. But the other three words in the same verse are not. I am wondering, what do you guys think? Does this fit with the notion of early Arab grammarians such as al-Farra, that it could be a developmental issue where the better acquainted the Arabs became with the writing system and the better trained they became, the closer they came to the pronunciation of the words?
To me, it does, because then there's, so you, in the version I'm looking at, they put dagger alifs in this place. So like, to me, it's a matter of the spelling just wasn't finite, or it wasn't finished at the time, or at least finished in terms of what it is now. So that the later development would have added the alif in there instead.
Okay. Okay. So you are more royal than a king. Sounds good to me. Other opinions? Suggestions? No?
Well, if we were to remove the short alif, would it be like would it be seen as a different pronunciation of a word?
Well, I do not know. What I'm wondering, honestly, if Jared's opinion has any merit to it, how would he and al-Farra and others explain that within the same verse, within the bounds of the same verse, this difference exists? Two manners of representing the long vowel exist within the bounds of the same verse. Meaning, Jared, that somebody along history must have noticed the difference and corrected the mistake. Because assuming that this opinion is that the developmental opinion is correct, then a lot of correction must have taken place along the years. A lot of modification must have taken place, right?
Not necessarily. If the idea was to preserve the text, then they would have preserved it the way it was, if that was a high value.
Okay, if this were the idea, my friend, how come the first person who wrote that verse did write it in two different manners?
This could be a little ad hoc, but if you're talking about a culture that's now coming to start using a written system, maybe, you know, what they were doing is they were trying to impute what they said and what they heard. And maybe in these cases where there's a dagger aleph and there wasn't originally an aleph, that it wasn't seen as a long vowel in there. And you know what I'm saying? Like they didn't contribute the way they said it necessarily at that time to a long vowel.
Agreed. I think, let me see if I can, if I rephrase what you want to say correctly, so if I understand correctly. So what you're saying is, this could in fact have been a more honest representation of the pronunciation nuances at the time of the first inscription, right?
Correct.
And the way they did it was that there were at least three different length periods for the long vowel. An a that warrants a dagger aleph, and a regular a that warrants an aleph on the horizontal line, right?
Yeah, that's
So
essentially.
okay. Well, that could be, that could be something, that could be a valid point. And the only way to prove the point is to study the sound environments in which a dagger aleph comes instead of where a long aleph should be. And then see if this corresponds to any phonological rule. That could be an idea. Or another idea also is that given the fact that the Quran was an oral product given to an oral culture and meant to, like we said before, to be consumed, disseminated, and dealt with orally. Then it is not far-fetched, pending evidence, of course. It's not far-fetched to assume that it must have had an oral performative fashion that was special to the Quran, and that allowed the Quran to be distinctive or audibly from regular non-Quranic oral texts. That could be also an idea. Again, this is plausible, but it requires a lot of research into oral cultures and how they produce either works of oral works of art or chants, religious texts. Right? There are traditions in Arabic and in other languages for chanting religious texts, and we will be dealing with tajweed and tartil very soon. Right? So, in fact, the issue of deviation from the norms of Arabic dictation can be for either, like Jared said, a linguistic reason, which was not covered before, but requires a lot of research. Or, like I said, as an oral cultural product, it requires a degree of distinction, and there are techniques for that. Any comments about this, or questions, or concerns?
The second point you mentioned was for distinction. What was the first point?
The first point was that, which Jared suggested, you mean?
Yes, your summary of it.
Okay, okay. Jared, can you summarize, or would you rather me do it?
Yeah, I mean, my answer was kind of a little bit of both of those, number one and number two. I think, why don't you summarize?
Okay. So what Jared meant to say was that there was probably the Arabs were trying to be very faithful to how they pronounced the Quranic words. So they pronounced them, especially this example of the Alif, and there are other examples, of course, in different different wavelengths. So there is a very long Alif in which they, for which they used a long Alif. There was a long Alif, but not as long as the previous one, such as in Razaqnakum. And they used a dagger Alif to represent this one. And short Alif is for the Fatha, is expressed by the Fatha. So although now we can, we have the distinction between only a very long vowel and a very short vowel, we have lost that medium one, which the Arabs may have had before. And the Quranic Rasm is faithful to that spectrum of three different lengths. How's that? Did I confuse?
No, it helped. Thank you. It's just that I like the second point more, where it could be for a distinction when pronunciation, because the first one, well, because it's been said, it's been done of just preserving the feature of it. And the Sahaba would memorize, and that's what they would tell others or speak of it. So I don't know, it seems a bit hard to them to forget a crucial aspect, one of the pronunciations of the the rest of or
Mhm. Probably. Yeah. Now, so this is the point I wanted to bring before we went into the phenomena. Let's now go and take a look at the different phenomena, and I will share my screen again so you don't have to. And at the same time, let me see how I can. Sorry. I will share my screen with you guys right now. Now you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Good. Very good. Okay. Now let's deal with the first two phenomena today. The hadf, deletion, and ziyada, addition. And in number 4 of the points, you'll see some examples for hadf. And let's go to Surah number 8, verse 42. Surah number 8, verse 42. Number 8 is Al-Anfal. Okay. Verse 42. Okay. Can somebody read it?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay, go ahead. Are you going to read it?
Oh, you said read. I thought you were saying, can you hear me?
No.
I don't have it open yet.
Okay.
I
Who
can.
has it open? Go ahead. Try.
Okay. إذ أنتم بأدوة الدنيا وهم بأدوة القصوى والركب أسفل منكم ولو تواعدتم لاختلفتم في ميعاد ولكن ليقضي الله أمرا كان مفعولا ليهلك من هلك عن بينة ويحيى من حي عن بينة وإن الله السميع عليم.
لسميع عليم.
Okay, لسميع عليم.
Okay, once more, please.
إذ أنتم بأدوة الدنيا وهم
الدنيا.
okay. بأدوة الدنيا وهم بأدوة القصوى وركبوا أسفل منكم ولو توعدتم لا اختلفتم في الميعاد ولكن ليقضي الله أمرا كان مفعولا ليهلك من هلك عن بينة ويحيى من حي عن بينة وإن الله سميع عليم.
Very good. Okay. Now, if you go to والركب أسفل منكم ولو تواعدتم, underline تواعدتم, لاختلفتم في الميعاد. Right? So, this is a very good example of حذف, deletion, where there should be an alif. Right? The word mi'ad is what kind of a word in Arabic? Does anybody know? No luck for me? Do you guys know any structure in Arabic that is called ism makan?
Yeah.
Okay. So the ism makan of waqt is what? Miqat and wazn?
Waqata.
No. Sorry. The ism makan from wazn. mizan, right?
So if it starts with a weak vowel, quote unquote, the
Yes.
wa becomes a ya.
Yes. And then there is an alif. Mi'ad, miqat, mizan. And the alif is missing here. And I went to the corpus, and I hope you can see the corpus on your screens. Can you?
Yep.
Okay. And I looked up the word mi'ad. And we have how many? 6 times the word mi'ad comes. And in all of these times, do you see the alif?
Yeah.
Is there any time this alif is missing?
Nope. All the 6 times it's written.
Yes. Okay. So that is an interesting case of hadf. Any question?
Is it
Okay.
more common for this to happen in the middle of the word? Because it seems like at the beginning and the end it's not missing, but it seems like oftentimes, sometimes in the middle it is.
Well, in this nominal form, the alif is always in this place. It's always penultimate. That letter and the sound is before the final letter and the final sound. So
What
the
I-
position, go
what-
ahead.
What I meant is instead of word initial or word end, it's in the middle, and in the similar way that the short vowels, you don't see fatha and all of that kind of stuff within the text. It's almost like they're assuming you know how to pronounce it, maybe.
That I cannot answer. But a defeat to the assumption, or a counterexample to the assumption that the word has its own pronunciation because this is a Quranic pronunciation convention that is special or unique to the Quran as an oral cultural product. I think it doesn't work in this example because it's the same word in all the other cases in which it appears in the Quran. It appears with the regular spelling of the alif. Okay. Any question before we go to the next example? No? Okay. Let's go to Surah number 9, verse 40. Number 9 is Surah At-Tawbah. Are you there?
Yep.
Okay. Can I ask you to read it, please?
Okay. انفروا خفافا وثقالا.
هي إلا تنصروه فقد نصره الله إذ أخرجه الذين كفروا ثاني اثنين إذ هما في الغار.
40, which verse?
Number 40.
ألا تنصر
I cannot hear you, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's the verse ألا تنصروا فقد
Yes, this
نصر
one.
ألا تنصروا فقد نصر الله إذ أخرجه الذين كفروا ثانية اثنين إذ هما في الغار إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن إن الله معنا فأنزل الله سكينته عليه أيده بجنود لم تروها وجعل كلمة والذين كفروا السفلى وكلمة الله هي العليا والله عزيز حكيم.
Thank you very much. Okay, I need somebody else to read it once more, please.
I think I can.
Go ahead.
إلا تنصروه فقد نصره الله إذ أخرجه الذين كفروا ثاني اثنين إذ هما في الغار إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن إن الله معنا فأنزل الله سكينته عليه وأيده بجنود لم تروها وجعل كلمة الذين كفروا السفلى وكلمة الله هي العليا والله عزيز حكيم.
وكلمة الله.
وكلمة الذين كفروا السفلى وكلمة الله هي العليا.
So do you see Dhamma on Kalimatullah?
Yes.
Okay, very good. طيب. So what is the word I'm looking for here?
Is it العليا or السفلى?
Neither.
It's صاحبه.
صاحبه. Yes. So do you see the alif or not?
Yes.
You see a dagger alif.
Yeah, between the صاد and the ha.
Yeah. So that's one more example. Any comments about that example? No? Okay. If there's nothing interesting in that example, let's move away from it and go to Surah 25, verse 4, and we will stop here for a bit.
Actually, sorry, I'm a little late. Is it written with the dagger alif for everyone's Qur'an? Because for mine it's لصاحبه but it's written with an alif.
Same with mine, but I think all mine have been changed, so I need to look at a different.
Okay. So who sees a dagger aleph?
You're asking in the ayah?
Yes, I'm asking in the ayah.
Is it ayah 4 in Surah Al-Furqan?
No, the previous one. He is still in the previous one. He is
Oh,
in 940.
what's he asking?
So for
Yeah.
you said for it there was a dagger aleph between the saw and the ha, but for mine it's written the sahibihi.
Oh, maybe we're in on two different like platforms. On my platform, it's like above. It's connected. The Sad and the Ha are connected, and the Alif is on top. It's like
Yeah,
a small Alif.
Same
in
here.
mine though it's written. It's like a normal aleph, and the saw and the ha are not connected. The saw
Yeah.
is connected to the aleph.
Okay. So where are you reading, my friend? Are you online or in a physical book?
Me?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm on both. So I'm reading from the book, but then I looked it up online while we were like, that's why I took a moment, and it shows the same thing. It shows that the alif is written. The website is qadatuna, qadatuna.org.
Now, is it the word after يقول لصاحبه?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it's a dagger aleph.
I recommend if you can go online, just do Qur'an.com.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But in my book, it's written يقول لصاحبه, but the صاحبه is written with the regular alif.
That's
That's the. Are you asking what the small alif is?
No, the regular one.
no, he has a different one.
Okay. هذاك المد.
Yes. So please use the Qur'an.com because it corresponds to the traditional Mus'haf. And thank you for drawing our attention to this. And now let's go to Surah number 25, verse number 4. Surah Al-Furqan, verse number 4.
Yeah, in this ayah, it's افتراه that has the hidden Alif.
No, actually, I'm looking for a different and a very interesting example here. Although you're right, if tarahu is one case where the alif is missing.
Is
But
it
who can-
Hava?
let's read the verse first. Who can read it for us out loud?
I want to give someone else the chance since I read before.
I can read it.
Oh, go ahead.
وقال الذين كفروا إن هذا إلا إفك افتراه وأعانه عليه قوم آخرون فقد جاءوا ظلما وزورا.
Very good. Can you read it once more?
وقال الذين كفروا إن هذا إلا إفك افتراه وأعانه عليه قوم قوم آخرون فقد جاءوا ظلما وزورا.
Very good. Okay.
It's
وقال
iftarah.
الذين Okay. وقال الذين كفروا إن هذا إلا إفك افتراه وأعانه عليه قوم آخرون فقد جاءوا ظلما وزورا. Right? Yeah. Iftarahu is one case where the alif is a dagger alif, where it should be a regular alif. But this is not why I am asking you to come to this verse. I'm asking you to come to this verse for the verb فقد جاءوا. Can anybody tell me what's interesting in this verse?
has a dhamma and wow.
No, that's normal.
Is it because, like for ja'u, it should be waw and alif?
Very good. Should be waw and alif. جاءوا كتبوا واو ألف قرأوا واو ألف. Now, but this جاءوا, right, is missing an alif. And it came in the Quran 9 times in this way. Right? So, theoretically, the example of ja'u missing an alif fits your first assumption that the Arabs' early scribes were probably trying to emulate how they spoke. In other words, they were trying to be faithful to how they pronounced the language. Right? But other words in the Quran do not seem to adhere to this. Such as the verb ataw, it always comes with an alif. Any question before we move on to the next example? No? Okay. Let's go to Surah 54, verse number 6. 54, verse number 6.
Which surah, sorry?
54.
Ayah 6.
Yeah.
سورة القمر.
Mhm.
Okay.
Who can read number 5? Verse number 6.
I can do it.
Go ahead.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. فتولى عنهم يوم يدعو الداعي إلى شيء نكر.
Very good. Once more, please.
فتولى عنهم يوم يدعو الداعي إلى شيء نكر.
Read it again, please.
فتولى عنهم يوم يدعو الداعي إلى شيء نكر.
Okay, so why did I hear you in the 3 times you read say fatawalla? Did you say that?
I did say.
So why do you have a long after the lam?
I don't know. I just have this sort of memorized. So I've listened to it. I've never actually thought about why I read it like that.
They put a
Yeah, but
shadda on it.
Yeah, because it's a command verb and it's in the majzoom and it has to be fatawalla. فتول عنهم يوم يدعو الداعي إلى شيء نكر. Okay, but the word I want you guys to underline here is يدعو.
القلقلة عند الداء بسبب السكون.
Say this again, please.
القلقلة يوم يدعو. You have to do the قلقلة, right?
Why?
لأن السكون فوق. And you can't say يدا, or you can't have any other. There's no other punctuation, I would say, on top of it or under.
You can always say يدعو, but that is not the point. The point is that this verb يدعو is missing a final vowel. Right? It should be يدعو. But it is missing a vowel. Isn't it? Any question about this or comment? So, in the beginning of the verse, fatawalla, a final vowel is deleted, and rightly so, because the verb is in the majzoom mood, and it is majzoom because it's a command verb, فعل أمر. So, and it's properly written. But the verb, the present tense, indicative verb, يدعو, is missing a vowel, a long vowel at the end, while it should not miss it because it's indicative and not Joseph. So you have 2 examples, 2 contradictory cases in the same verse. Right? Any question or comment? Okay, but let's go to the last example of hadf. And it is in Surah Al-Qiyamah. It's Surah number 75, and it's verse 37. Are you there?
نعم.
Okay. Who can read it for us?
I can read it.
Go ahead.
الله. ألم يك نطفة من مني يمنى.
Okay. Once more, please.
ألم يك نطفة من مني يمنى.
Very good. So the word I want you guys to look at is yaku. Alam yaku nutfatan min maniyin yumna. The word yaku should be yakun. Ya kaf nun. Which is the verb yakun, and it's majzoom because it's after lam. So it's missing the long vowel. The long vowel is shortened into a short vowel, which is very correctly represented here, but the noon is missing. Well, what is the case in Arabic where we are allowed to delete the noon, or where the noon is deleted?
It wouldn't be if it's part of the root.
Yeah, that's true.
الإقلاب.
Say it again.
I was gonna say الإقلاب.
I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
الإظهار إدغام الإقلاب الإخفاء.
No, that's a different story. But even if there is an idgham or iqlab or even ikhfa, it's not missing in writing, right?
Yes, true.
So there is no case where the noon should be missing. There is only one case, and it's for the nouns as they come as a part of an idafa structure. And that is only in the noon of the dual or plural suffix, but not when the noon is a part of the root. And it's only in the nouns and not in verbs. So I have given you examples where we have seen an alif deleted, a waw deleted, and even a consonant, noon, deleted. And this, in fact, example, this last example, is not easy to explain by those people who believe that deleting or that deviation from the norm is a historical development. Because I do not see how this can fit into this scheme. And also, Brian, I think you and I have briefly discussed Van Puten's theory that it was that the Rasm of the Qur'an is or was representative of the Hijaz Arabic, right?
Right.
I also fail to see how this example can fit into that.
He's not saying that it always does, but that there's enough cases that suggest that it was.
See, yes, and that baffles me. Because, okay, so what about the other cases? So say, for instance, would I be, if I want to put down my Cairo Egyptian dialect of the third quarter of the 20th century in writing, would I be able to put words or morphemes or structures from Moroccan Arabic in the same period, or from another dialect in the same period?
I suppose it depends how far the dialects are apart, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, so what, and then you will see the question why.
Yeah, I'm sure there's different people would explain that differently, certainly.
Yeah, people would justify that or apologize for that differently. However, noon will never fit into that. Will never fit into a dialectal explanation too. Right?
Which shows that if you were going to try to explain it, there would be different justifications depending on the variation.
Absolutely. So you'll have to justify every set of examples separate from different sets of other examples, so that you will not be able to have a uniform theory to explain all the deviations.
Which is not an impossible assumption.
What do you mean?
I mean, so I suppose for some of these, you can explain it, as I mentioned, right? So because there's a difference in how it was pronounced and how it was written down, and there's a justification for that. But some cases, what if it's a matter of like, so the original person writes it down, they're considered an authority, and so the original version is authoritative, but what if there's a mistake in the original version, so that authoritative version continues to be repeated?
Yes. And whatever happened in the authoritative version continues and like sits for perpetuity, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but this has to be all over. This has to be unanimous.
So I'm saying, so like in the case of the Elif, right? The first explanation could be valid, and that they were just changing due to different variations in the Elif and the way that it was recited. In the second case, the noon dropping could be a matter of the second explanation, and those two aren't necessarily counterintuitive. Like those both could be explanations, but you don't have to explain the Elif in the same way you explain the noon, because they could be two different reasons.
Yes. Could be two different reasons. I agree to that. And I also think that the two different reasons or more are linguistic. Some are phonological and some are dialectal.
I agree.
And I'm beginning to be scholarly interested in the Rasm. And I'm beginning to see a linguistic reason for some of these explanations. Sorry, some of these deviations, especially deletion examples, and also including the alleviation or the disappearance of the noon in the text. Because you will also see in some verses in the Quran that there is a combination of two words into one. And whenever it ends with a noon, la, Allah, amman, and so on, right? And or a nasal sound. I mean, but I'm not going to talk much about this for now. Let's move, unless you guys have a question. If not, then let's move to, I'll share my screen again and move to the second phenomenon that I'm going to talk about today, which is addition. And I have a few examples, 4 examples to be exact. One is from Surah 27, verse 21. Surah 27, verse 21. Are you guys there?
Yes.
Okay. So, who can read it for us? Did I make a mistake or something? Well, I think I made a mistake. But can somebody read it for us, please?
I can try if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
ليعذبينه عذابا شديدا أو لا أذبحنه أو ليأتيني بسلطان مبين.
Mubin.
Okay. Mubin.
Yeah. Once more, please.
Having a hard time
That
with
one.
the script. ليعذبنه عذابا شديدا أو لا أذبحنه أو ليأتيني بسلطان مبين.
Okay. Very good. Do you notice anything about the word وَلَأَذْبَحَنَّهُ?
Extra alif.
Say it again.
There's an extra alif.
Yes, there is an extra alif. أَذْبَحَنَّهُ. There is. How can you explain this one, Jared?
No explanation as of yet.
I don't think that this addition can have an easy or accessible phonological explanation. Let's go to Surah 25, verse 14. Surah 25, verse 14. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Who can read it for us?
I can read it.
Okay, go ahead.
الشيطان الرجيم. لا تدعوا اليوم ثبورا واحدا وادعوا ثبورا كثيرا.
Okay. Once more, please.
لا تدعوا اليوم ثبورا واحدا وادعوا ثبورا كثيرا.
Okay. So the word tad'u, how does it end? Does it end with a waw?
No, it ends with an alif.
Yeah. And how does ud'u end?
Same.
Okay. So
Is
where
it
is the addition in this one?
the second alif,
Yes.
because it's a alif salah. It's a you sil, it means in combined, kind of combinations, kind of combining those two words pretty much. So it's all
Why?
it's silly because of the alif salah. لا تدعوا اليوم instead of لا تدعوا اليوم, like if you were to actually kind of, read it correctly.
Well, that's if you add the extra alif, that's what you actually do.
Yeah, so that's why you say it together, because it's the alif with a sad on top of it, which the little sad means salah.
Why do we have an extra alif in writing? Even if what you're saying is correct, which is not, but that would be in the pronunciation, but not in the writing again.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's what the alif salah, that's why you sil both words.
So what you're saying is you're giving it a label, a title, a name. It does
Alif
not.
salah
Yeah.
is that's what it means. That's what the sad is for.
Okay. Thank you. So
No.
is there a linguistic reason for that?
I don't know personally, so
Yeah.
but I
Or
do know
is
the tilawa for it.
okay. So again, this is the second example in the addition where there is no linguistic reason or there is no obvious linguistic reason unless the alif has a phonetic or phonological value that was different then than it is now. Right? This is something that requires a lot of research too.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So when it says لا تدعو, since it doesn't have an alif, which means لا تدعوا, which means a pair or two, you know, like plural for instead of, because Allah's not projecting this ayah to one or two people, he's projecting it to everybody. So he says لا تدعوا اليوم لا تدعوا, it's not sorry, لا تدعوا, it's لا تدعوا اليوم ثبورا واحدا وادعوا, because after it says وادعوا, meaning more than two, ثبورا كثيرا. That's why it's صلة, because if it wasn't صلة, it would mean two, for two people, or two, you know.
Okay, can you tell me the name of the surah?
Surah Al-Furqan.
Okay. Okay, 359. And what is the verse? I moved.
14.
Yes. 359, and it is 14.
That was a whole question, so it wasn't me saying I know what it is. It's just from what I'm reading. This is what I'm understanding.
Okay. وادعوا ثبورا ولا تدعوا اليوم ثبورا واحدا وادعوا ثبورا كثيرا. So what do you want to say?
It was a question.
I
What
think
is it?
the question is, isn't he talking to many people when he says it?
Yeah, I'm saying so.
It's plural, is a plural.
Yeah, so it's not just because لا تدعوا would refer to two. لا تدعوا اليوم, because if we had to pronounce the alif لا تدعوا اليوم, that would refer to two people. So, and after it says واحدا وادعوا, it doesn't say wad'uwa, like the alif has a sukun on top of it, which means you don't pronounce it. It's the alif sakin. Wad'u thuburan kathira. So this, it has a connection between why the alif sila was there, wad'u al-yawma thuburan kathira wahida, with wad'u after wahida, because it's not referring, or it's not this this ayah is not, it's not being said, or to one person. I mean, it's not like it's, what I'm saying, it's not like physically being said, but it's just, it doesn't pertain to one or two people, it pertains to everyone.
It makes, what you're saying makes very good sense.
No.
Yeah.
In other words, it's a plural command, so the noon drops with waw alif.
No.
Is that what? Yeah.
So say it again, Jared, because your voice to me was muffled for a second.
I was saying that it's a plural command, so la,
yes.
So that the noon drops at the end, so it's waw alif.
Yeah, it makes sense if you look at it this way. It makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Because sometimes looking at a part of the ayah doesn't really make you understand unless you read the whole thing. Then you would understand why certain things were put in either in the beginning or at the end or in the middle. So it's like the whole thing is one thing. So it's called the ayah. It's just, it's not, it's not, there's not لا تدعوا اليوم ثبورا, an ayah, and then the end the ayah. So it's like one whole thing. So you have to read the whole thing and then connect the dots to what it's referring to.
Okay. Let's go to last two examples. Surah number 10. Surah number 10, and it is verse 25. What? I think I made a mistake. I think I made a mistake. No, I didn't make a mistake. Are you there?
Yeah.
Good. Now, who can read it?
I'll go for it.
Go ahead.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم والله يدعو إلى دار السلام ويهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم.
والله يدعو إلى دار السلام ويهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. Can anybody tell me where the addition is?
The alif at the end of Yad'u.
Yeah. والله يدعو. Why is this alif here? Can anybody give me an explanation?
Not a good explanation, but I do know that sometimes God is referred to as nahnu, here though it's singular.
Yeah, but
The royal plural.
But this is a third person plural, it's not a first person plural.
It's just mimicking that in the third person. Because it's speaking in third person. It's not saying I invite, I Allah invite. It's saying Allah Yad'u.
Glorifies himself?
Well, it's speaking third person, yeah.
Why? Goes against the message.
What if Allah actually is not the subject, but is like a qasam? Is that possible or not?
Then you would have to come up with who yadaw.
I have a guess.
Go ahead.
So it's third person, so it's someone, speaking like maybe yad'u, the alif is there because the noon is sakin, because it would say yad'una ila dar salam, but that's just a guess. So the
Where's
alif
the
is there. No, I'm just saying, like that's what I'm not saying the alif, I mean the noon is sakin. I'm saying it should be like wallahu yad'una ila dar salam. But like
Why?
that's just a guess.
Yadaw, okay, wait. Yadaw whom?
Us. Yad'una.
No, but this, so no.
Okay. It was just an idea.
The only explanation I could think of, which fits developmental thinking, or the developmental explanation, is that in fact, the waw, and it makes perfect sense because the Arabic writing system is an abjad, that the value of the waw was always a wa. So it was to make it sound like a long vowel and not a waw. Instead of yad'u, but yad'u.
I guess I'm still not convinced on the fact that it's not a reflection of the kind of the use of nahnu for Allah at times.
Well, if
But
it's not new, it would be way easier, right?
Yeah, but since this is third person, we wouldn't use nahnu. We'd
So
use,
why would he put it in the third person in the first place? He would use it in the first person plural, like he did in a lot of cases in the Quran,
I don't know,
such
because
as
this
nahnu.
time,
my question though would be for Jared, if it was for nahnu, then like yahdi is for plural, is for singular.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
yeah, the verb yahdi is just like one, like huwa.
Yeah, so it's a total addition. Now, the only linguistic example I could see is in the value of the wow.
Oh, because the alif or waw or ya have a alif
Yeah.
sakin after it with a med on top of either alif, waw, or ya, you then extend. So it would be so yad'u would be wallahu yad'u ila dari salam yahdi man yasha'u ila siratin mustaqim. So you mid it, extend the u longer.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. I don't know what my first thing was. Disregard that, please.
Now, let's go to verse in the same surah, verse 106. And that's my last example, I promise.
You said which verse?
106. You know what? I think I made a mistake. Because there's nothing in this verse. My bad, I'm sorry. I apologize. I must have made a mistake jotting it down. But that said, give you examples for 2 of the 6 phenomena. And I'm not planning to go more into the idea of Rasm and that topic. But every non-linguistic explanation doesn't hold. And every linguistic explanation needs evidence so it can hold. And like Jared said, there has to be more than one explanation to identify and also justify separate phenomena. So we will probably, for deletion, come up with linguistic and or oral cultural explanations that differ from addition. And I'm assuming in the case of addition, especially for the waw and the aleph, there will be an issue of the value of the letters. But for any explanation to take place, a lot of data need to be gathered and need to be studied in a corpus. And I am personally this year starting to read and to collect data on this phenomenon. So I cannot give you definitive answers, but What I know for sure is that the Tawqifi apology, that it was so delivered and so intended to keep you attentive only, does not hold, because and also the explanation that there is a semantic connection between the deviant words and the context that can be that can be understood from the context does not also hold, because proponents of this thinking assume that understanding what a word, a deviant word in a particular context means is by a fath, revelation to God, from God to the individual. In other words, there is no apparatus or methodology, to understand that. And I'm not ready to entertain any theory that does not have evidence or a methodology to test the evidence. Generally speaking, wrong ideas and theories are very helpful, are very good. But a theory or an idea that you cannot prove does not help us. Any questions?
Besides difference in dialect, do you know of early tradition that brings other explanations related to the variances?
The developmental explanation that the Arabs were not able to write, to master the writing system, which underwent a lot of modifications. That's the theory of al-Farra.
So that comes also from like history or tradition?
Yes.